Hello everyone and welcome to my videos on the new PMP exam. These are the videos that constitute the training that you need to go and pass the PMP exam. You just need to watch these videos, and if you've had any experience with my videos, my past series, the previous series of 45 videos has helped hundreds of people get certified as PMPs. Now, do you need anything else beyond my courses? Well, if you want, you could read the PIM book. We're still on PIM book 6, so you could read that. And you can read the Agile practice guide that comes at the end. If you're not sure, you can watch my previous video that talks about the new PMP 2021, where I provide a guide as to how you should approach your study for the new exam. If you have not studied yet up to this point, you have not watched the old videos, then you may want to just start watching with these new videos, because these are the ones that are made especially for the new exam structure. The key thing that you want is to be able to understand PIM book 6 from the perspective of the new structure that they have, which is 50% agile based and 50% predictive or waterfall. Content, realistically, it's not going to be different from the previous videos that I produced. They were all from PIM book 6, so that hasn't changed. So if you go to things like WBS, scope, requirements, the schedule, finish to start, start to finish, earn value, and some concepts in quality management, risk management, these things, they did not change, right? What changed is the additional content that you will now see on this first video, where they start talking about teams, how to work with different teams. So it feels like PMI wants you to have this all-around management, personality. And you'll see here on this screen, you'll see the focus that they now went to 3 domains, right? And these are people, process, and the business environment. Obviously, you're a project manager, you're not a business manager, but still the business environment here constitutes 8% of the questions. Don't be scared. These are not business questions. These are from PIM book 6, right? Don't let anybody fool you. Everything comes from PIM book 6. All right. Now I have access to the new training material from PMI, and I know that they've expanded. There's a few things they expanded that you probably would not catch immediately if you read the PIM book 6, only because that was very waterfall oriented. So things like Kanban, servant leadership, and a few other techniques may not necessarily be that visible when you look at PIM book 6, but Kanban is huge. It just keeps showing up everywhere. It's, and the concept of agile and having teams plan their own schedule, make their own decisions. These are big things in the new structure. So that is something you got to keep in mind. So that's why you see that PMI, they put people as 42%. It's not that it's not that they created new content that never existed in PIM book 6. It does exist, but what they did was they restructured how you should look at things. And so you see that one of the first things we look at is, teams and how to work with teams. But some of the things that we will cover may have already been covered if you watched my previous 45 videos. The process part, that is 50% of the exam questions, these you can probably get from my previous videos, the 45 videos. And by the way, you can watch these videos and watch the old ones also. The old ones expand on the process side. So if you're weak in the technical aspects of project management, the processes themselves, you can go there and you can watch the old videos. There's no loss there. I've added them up. It's probably about 14 hours of viewing if you want to view all of the old videos. And if you want to pass the exam, spending 14 hours watching those, the previous 45 video set is not really a loss. There's a lot more to gain from there. And my style of training includes a lot of practicality. So you're probably going to have a lot of maybe hands-on feel from those trainings that I did. Just read the comments and see how people like those videos. The business environment, again, is just you looking out for the business. So it's not really a big area here. There's no way that you're going to like itemize this and say, I'm going to focus on this and not that. So I would not recommend that. I would recommend that you understand the whole content so that you're ready to actually sit and take and pass this exam. All right, so let's take this to the next step. The way the new content is structured is like this. I know in the old one, we had 10 knowledge areas starting from integration all the way to stakeholder management. Well, those knowledge areas, they still exist. They are part of the PMBOK 6. They're not going to change. The content in them is still useful. It's still going to be part of your exam, but it just sits, the majority of that probably sits in that 50% that was in the middle, which pertains to processes. And some of it also sits in the people side, all right, which constitutes 42% of your exam. But this is the way PMI now structured the content. Just reading the titles could easily fool you to think that this is new content. It isn't. It is still PMBOK 6. It's just, a different view at the same thing. So we start with creating a high-performing team, which is essential anyways. If you're managing a project, you do want a team that can work well with you, and it has a lot of sub contents in there. Then you go into starting the project. Starting the project includes things like the charter, understanding what the goals and objectives are for the project. So if you've studied the previous content or you read it, a lot of this is going to look quite familiar to you. Doing the work is the actual processes. So from the old study videos that we had, a lot of it's going to match here. So the scope, the requirements, WBS schedule, budgets, things like that, they sit in there. All right. So between starting the project, which is initiation and planning, to doing the work, which is execution, and keeping the team on track, which is a lot of monitoring and control, a lot of the old flavor of the PMBOK actually sits here. And then keeping the business in mind, that's probably that 8% that they inserted that could have a few new perspectives, but I don't think it's new magic. So please, when you go through this, I don't want you to panic and think this is a whole new content. If you've been watching the old videos, I've seen a lot of feedback from people they've passed based on the old videos on the new exam. So you actually could pass the exam watching the old 45 videos that I have. And I would advise reading the Agile Practice Guide that came with the PMBOK, with PMBOK 6. It is there at the very end. Right? It's part of the PMBOK file. All right, so let's take this to the first part of this, which is creating high performance team. We don't call them knowledge areas, we call them domains. All right, so the first domain is going to be creating a high performance team. And in it, you'll see that we have 7 tasks. All right, so the way it's structured is like this. Every domain, right, which is the high level knowledge area that you need to be familiar with, is going to have several tasks. The tasks are the underlying responsibilities that you, the PM, need to be good at in each of these domains. And every one of these is going to have enablers. The enablers are essentially the tools or the techniques. So tools and techniques, as we always knew them, would be the enablers. So when we look at every one of these tasks in each domain, for example, the domain creating a high performance team, which is the first one that I'm going to cover, has a task called build a team. In the build a team portion, it's going to have techniques being introduced or tools that are being introduced and concepts. So we consider these to be the enablers. All right. And that's how I'm going to go with the training. We'll do this. We'll do the first one, build a team, then define the team ground rules, negotiate project agreements, empower the team members and stakeholders, train the team members and stakeholders, engage and support virtual teams, and then build a shared understanding about the project. So these are, a lot of them are fairly easy, especially like engage and support virtual teams and training them. They even talk about certifying team members and other areas. Empowering team members, I'm not sure if it's that one or the previous one, but we talk about RACI charts. So good content that has been nicely structured so that they can easily get you into the mindset of how a project manager actually operates. All right, so we're going to start with build a team, and build a team is where you determine the project team member requirements, what they require for them to be able to perform. You appraise their skills and you try to maintain the team knowledge transfer. PMI is really big on documenting information. Knowledge transfer to make sure that there is no knowledge loss is really important. The second one that we will cover once we do build a team is define team ground rules. This is where we set rules that the team is going to abide by, and that's going to be based on the context that we're in, the environment that we're in, and the team dynamics. The third thing that we discuss is negotiating the project agreements. And this is not to negotiate money or anything, but this is to agree on what it is that we're going to be working on this one project. The fourth thing that we discuss is empowering the team members and stakeholders. This is to look at the strengths and weaknesses that the team has and understand or maybe assign accountability so that people know what they're doing. And the section E, training team members and stakeholders, really talks about ensuring that if I'm going to deliver any part of my project and it's going to go to somebody else, that they are adequately trained to be able to take on what I just completed to give them. Engaging and supporting virtual teams. This one is to maybe enlighten us, I guess. That's PMI's intention, that we could be working with virtual teams and what could be some maybe guidelines that they are proposing we could use in working with virtual teams. Building a shared understanding about the project, trying to get consensus and support for the outcome that everybody thinks we're going to get out of this one project. So these 7 sections would complete the portion that is creating a high-performing team, which is one of the domains that we're going to cover. And again, the 5 domains are creating a high-performing team, which is the first one that we will do. Then we go to starting the project, doing the work, keeping the team on track, and keeping the business in mind. Once we complete all of this, training is done. All you have to do is practice some questions and make sure you're familiar with a lot of the tools or techniques or terminologies that are being proposed in there, and you're good to go. All right, so 7 sections here, starting with build a team, all the way to building a shared understanding about the project. And the first thing that we're going to do is build a team.